are Texas Pinball Fest 2019 with none other than Mike Vinikour, Associate Game Developer. These titles are very extensive of Stern Pinball. Mike, you've been at all these shows. We've seen your face everywhere this year. What do you actually do for Stern Pinball?
The easier question to answer is what don't I do? But so I do a lot of different things for Stern. I help with rule design for all of our games. So I work on every project that we do. I work with all the leads to help make their games the most fun that they could be. So some guys need more help with rules than others. Most of them have an overall vision, and then I'll work with them to make, take that vision and help it make it as fun as possible.
Give me a real-world example.
So Deadpool is a recent example where the lead programmer had ideas for modes he wanted, but not necessarily how he wanted the shots to, the shot rules to work. So he'd be like, here's the mode I want, like help me come up with rules for this. And so I would suggest like the mode should work like this. Sometimes all the modes and the rules will be there, and then I'll say, well, this is okay, but it would be more fun if you tried this. And then we go back and forth until we get it where we're all happy.
So whenever there's like a really good shot or a game or a mode, then you're like, yeah, that was because of me.
Not always. Usually it's not because of me or a little bit because of me. It's always a collaboration, but it varies from lead to lead. Some guys have the whole thing figured out and they nail it on the first try, but usually it takes some iteration to get there.
So do you have to play a lot of pinball? Like, do you calculate your hours on, are you testing the games as well to figure out how to get those ideas?
Yes. So when I was originally hired a couple of years ago at Stern, my initial job was just software testing, where I played the games all day and looked for bugs and helped balance them and whatnot. And then it quickly grew into me helping with some design elements. So I play our games more than anybody. I know our game rules as much or sometimes even more than the guy that wrote them. And then, so I look for bugs. I make, the pacing, the fun, all that stuff. All day long. I've got 6 machines in my office at all times, and they rotate in and out depending on what I'm working on. And I'm often juggling 2 to 3 projects at a time.
So you guys just finished the Munsters, which we are premiering the premium here at Texas Pinball Fest. What was it like working on that game?
That one was a lot of fun. So I watched the Munsters a lot in reruns in the 70s when I was growing up. And it was pretty exciting for me to like relive some of those moments of the show I used to watch like every morning or every day after school. And this was the second game I've worked on at this company with Dwight, and it was a lot of fun working with him.
What was the most, give me an anecdote of working on the Munsters. Something that happened in it that you had to help problem solve with the game.
You know what? I worked with Dwight a lot on retooling the Munster Madness modes, the 2 wizard modes. So that was a lot of fun in his office with back and forth, throwing ideas at each other until we both started getting really excited about it. And the end result is what's now in the most recent version of the game.
And how do I get to that wizard mode?
You finish the 5 modes. So when you start Herman, Grandpa, Spot, Raven, and Lily, after those are done, then there's Scoop Sled for Munster Madness, and then during Munster Madness, it's a multi-ball, and on the Premium and LE, you play both playfields at the same time. And you go through each of those modes, and they've got different shots for 10 seconds each.
Wait, multi-ball on the top and lower playfield at the same time?
Yep, and you have 2 sets of buttons, one for each set of flippers. So you could trap up on one playfield while you're playing the other one.
Is there a way that you can turn on the machine and I can just go instantly to wizard mode and play that?
You could take the glass off and cheat and just get there with your fingers. That's how I tested it.
I want to see that. That is awesome. That's like my dream. I didn't know it was the wizard mode, but yeah, I heard of the infamous double-layered multi-ball, and that's got to be super complicated to even figure out how to create, right?
It's really hard to wrap your brain around because it's in 2 different planes, So like if you're focusing on one, like your depth of field is blurred out for the other. So trying to juggle all that is really chaotic, but it's a lot of fun.
Do you give any advice as far as like, should you use one finger for each flipper or the 2 finger flips?
Oh, 2 fingers, 1 on each button.
So do you usually play the middle finger on regular finger?
My index and my middle finger, so I use my middle for the bottom ones.
So now you know how to play the Munsters. That's crazy. Why didn't you guys put a lower playfield in the Pro?
Well, The premium and the LE always have more physical features than the Pro.
That's a big difference. I can't even, they're all beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I can't even look at the Pro anymore after knowing that there's a whole nother play field that I'm missing out on. Like, why, and I know a lot of people that are still just going for the Pro. They want to buy the Pro. Like, what is that?
Well, some of it boils down to cost. If we put a lower playfield on the Pro, then it would cost what the premium costs. So we like to make a more affordable version for the street operators to put out in their bars and their arcades. And it's easier to get a return on your investment if the game costs a little bit less money and a little bit more, and it has less things that to maintain.
So you guys at Stern, it always seems like the reoccurring theme is you always care about the operators and on-location pinball. Maybe not more so than the homeowner, but is that a true assumption that you guys are really catering to pinball out in the wild?
Absolutely. So this business was based on operators and location play, and it was only in the recent times that the home market came into being. But we stand by the operators. That's still a large part of our business model, and it's something we will always support. Plus, we really encourage locations to have pinball because that's how you grow the audience. Younger people that weren't around, and when there were arcades everywhere, have no way to see these pinball machines if there aren't any on location. So we want pinballs to be everywhere.
I was thinking too, the Pro model is probably a better tournament game too, right? Do you guys ever think about that when you're making the different models? Like, oh, now that you guys are doing the Stern Pro circuit, is that kind of something that is conscious in y'all's brains when you're creating games?
That's not in the physical design, but we absolutely do think about things like the tournament players and like what your Keith Elwins of the world would do when we're developing the rules, for sure.
And you've been doing a lot of shows lately. Like I said, I think every time someone announces a new show, your picture is up there saying you're doing a panel or something. Like, why is Stern sending you to all these shows, and why should, if you're a showrunner, get this guy in the books?
So I'm familiar with the entire product line that we do because I'm one of the few people that work on every title. Excuse me. So, and I do enjoy talking to people, and I'm a passionate gamer at heart. So that Stern trusts me to be a face of the company, to come to these shows, to represent them, and interact with the customers and the fans, answer their questions, and be here, to see what they like, what they don't like, help support Marco in this booth, keep our games running. I give away prizes all the time. People can challenge me to games of pinball and win t-shirts and translights and whatever else I bring. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Awesome. That is a good point to bring up. So if you do ever see Mike at a show, he has this challenge thing going on that if you beat him in a pinball game, then he'll give you some really awesome swag. I almost won an Iron Maiden translight, and I was blasting him. I was leagues away with him in Metallica, and then he got an extra ball on ball 3, and then all of a sudden he had like almost 300 million, and I just walked away crying. So he's tough competition, but if you do see him, he wants you to challenge him.
I do. And I'm very inconsistent, so if you catch me at the right time of day, depending on the amount of sleep deprivation and caffeine, you might have a really good or a really poor chance of winning.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for talking with us, Mike, and we'll see you around.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.